Hello, today we are talking about mental health in construction. Mental health in general can be a topic that is a little uncomfortable for some. So to help bring some perspective, we're talking with Brandon Anderson, Vice President of Safety with AGC Missouri. Brandon, thanks for talking today.
Thanks, Kurt, for having me on.
Brandon, right out of the gate here, I have a two-part question for you. First, what led to AGC Missouri? How did you get involved with them? Vice President of Safety. Sounds awesome. And then what makes the team so passionate about mental health awareness?
That's it's a whole lot of questions with a big, quite a few answers and big answer. As far as AGC of Missouri's involvement, back in 2019 or so, a little before, one of our member companies, their corporate safety director, but he came back to the safety committee meeting and shared some stats and data regarding this. And the more the conversation continued on, what's been shared with me is the more our members talked about, hey, this is an issue, and I know so and so, and it's today. Unfortunately, it's hard to be in any setting with any number of people, no matter really how small the group is, and you're almost guaranteed the majority of those present have been impacted by mental health issues, and even suicide. There's definitely a crisis going on, and it's continuing. AGC of Missouri felt the need to get involved and felt it was too great to not do anything. And they put together a team of members companies as well as some other members such as Washington University, including OSHA's field office here in St. Louis. They felt the need to do something. And that's just kind of where they started. So the whole premise in the beginning was, let's just start the conversation, try to break the stigma. We're 3 years into it, right? And we're still having that conversation of breaking the stigma. We've moved the campaign further along in how to have the conversation, what to talk about, and even to the point of providing some training to equip individuals out on the job site to recognize signs and symptoms and how to communicate and listen, more importantly, to someone that may be struggling.
Right.
Simply put, we're still having to talk about the fact that it's okay to even talk about this. It's a gradual, slow change. Myself, I came to AGCMO. It was a blessing to me personally. I had made a decision to walk away from a long time career of 17 years with another organization here in Missouri. To touch on your question about the passion of the team, they care. I work with an amazing group of professional individuals in the construction industry, at Washington University, with OSHA, that they truly do care. Safety is not just a slogan for them. They live, eat, breathe it. It's their life, and they care about people.
And I believe we've spoken before. I think the last time we talked, I didn't get to refer to you as Mr. Vice President, but at the time you referred to the state of Missouri as having a suicide rate in the construction field that was 4 times higher than what it was in the rest of the nation. I have to believe that plays into this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's when you look at the data that's out there, and there's resources for that just with a simple Google search. That's going to give you more data than you could possibly really comprehend. But in the Midwest, it's amazing. Right here in the middle of the country, the issue and the stats related to that, like you mentioned, suicide in the construction industry is 4 times higher than out there, in society on the street. And it's hard to believe that, but you take all the different things into consideration, from the culture to the work and stresses, and I'm sure we'll talk about here shortly at some point throughout this, but it plays a role.
So who is affected? This isn't just limited to the workers, I assume.
It's not. And I actually had a conversation this morning with our partners at WashU about some Toolbox Talks and some materials and resources to develop to provide those in the industry, the workers, on how to have these conversations at home with their families. I've provided and participated in a number of talks around the state on job sites, talking to the employees and the companies about mental health and about suicide awareness and prevention. And it never fails. A half a dozen folks will come up to you afterwards and say, "Hey, my kid or my wife or my husband is struggling." Um, and then this past year, it's, no secret, COVID is an issue, um, and has shed a huge spotlight on mental health in society. So it's not just plaguing our workers in this industry; it is affecting their families as well.
You mentioned the Toolbox Talks. I have to assume that that's one of the resources that are out there. Can you explain a little bit more what that is and what other resources might be out there?
Sure. So initially in 2019, during that time frame, through our partnership with WashU, 5 Toolbox Talks were developed for the Suicide Awareness Prevention Week in September, which is the 5th through the 10th this year. The 10th being the World Health Organization Day of Recognition for Suicide Prevention and Awareness, to draw attention to it. And the idea was Monday through Friday, every morning, have some sort of toolbox talk on this subject to try to break the ice and the stigma, and provide resources and things of that nature. Last year, we felt like we wanted to do more, um, given the situation at hand, and that this is not for us and our partners. This is not just a 1 week awareness campaign. This is a 24/7, 365 initiative for us. And in order to do that, we need to have the materials for it. So we developed, in partnership again with WashU and a number of our members, what we called the Mental Health Mondays campaign. We launched last September. And the idea was one Monday a month. It didn't have to be the first. It really didn't matter. Quite frankly, I don't care what day it is. Just one day a month, have a conversation, break away from your typical safety talks of slips, trips, and falls, and safety glasses and gloves, and hard hats. And although very important, so is this, and there needs to be time made for mental health. So, and they build off each other, each subject, or they can be standalone, and we have one for each month. So that's been a huge. It's been well received in the industry. Um, People and organizations from coast to coast have been utilizing these Mental Health Monday Toolbox Talks.
So we're talking about mental health, and in the construction industry, what should employers be doing what are some of the steps they can take to help their teams?
Yes, that's a good question, and it's something that really over the past month or so, leading up to September, being September 1st, I've been receiving a lot of phone calls from organizations and companies, nationwide, and even just spoke to a gentleman out of Ontario, Canada, the other day. But they're asking, like, we want to do something. What do we do? And it's very simple. Just open the door to a conversation. That's all. Simply start the conversation. Our message, we have that we kicked off last year, was moved from help. It's okay to ask for help. This industry, most of the workers aren't even going to ask help to lift something, let alone, hey, I need to talk about my feelings or what's going on, my struggle or issue. But we do. So we've kind of refocused and rebranded, changed gears there to spread the message of hope. And hope it's an acronym for Hold On, Pain Ends. If you just stop and have the conversation about it's okay if you're not okay, there's resources out there. The importance of self-care, and being honest with yourself. If employers would just, like I said, once a month, this Toolbox Talk program we have, it's free. It's right there on the website. They can utilize to have that conversation and help start that. We'll make a difference. And a lot of employees, there's this stigma that I can't talk about my feelings, or if I go to my boss or to human resources, I'm going to be put on a list, and it's going to impact promotion or a job in the future, whatever the case may be. And the fact of the matter is that's just really not true. the employers need their employees now more than ever with the workforce issues we're having in the nation. But now more than ever, they need their employees healthy and happy and productive. Um, this is a great opportunity for any organization that hasn't already to step up and start these conversations and embrace the self care and bring awareness to mental health.
As employees in the field, actually doing the work, what steps are available to me? What can I do when I'm actually a part of the team working on any build?
Most organizations and various craft workers and unions that are out there across the nation have an employee assistance program or something very similar. The acronym may be different, EAP or MEAP or MPA, whatever the case may be. And it's utilizing those resources that are free to you in most cases. I would also say, just being out of compassion for your fellow worker, most of these crews and individuals, men and women alike, are working around each other day in, day out. You're talking 12 to 15 hours plus, sometimes 6, 7 days a week in some cases. And they're around each other more than their own families. So you get to know people and you develop a relationship and a bond, and a person's, behavior and their mannerisms, and you get to know them personally in some cases as well in their life. Um, if something's off, or an individual, is acting differently, or their hygiene has changed, and their behavior and mannerisms has changed, or they're short, fused, and they're typically not the case, or they're a happy-go-lucky person, and now for the past few days to a week they've just not been. It's I would encourage everyone in that situation that notices something like that, have the compassion and courage to reach out to them and say, hey, how are you? Start a conversation. Ask them if they're okay, if you're comfortable with that. Just starting the conversation, hey, what's new? What's been going on? I noticed you've been late to work, or you seem like there's something on your mind. I'm here for you. And you'd be amazed with, a lot of times they just need someone to listen to them, and that's all it is. And then there are situations you'll come across where they need more than that. They need professional help, and there's resources for that out there. All of our materials carry the National Suicide Hotline, the website for suicide prevention, lifeline.org. There's a QR code, the text number 741-741. You can text HOPE, and it's going to connect you with the resources that are available out there. So you're not going to call me necessarily or someone at AGCMO. They're going to this information and these hotlines will get you straight to the professionals that you need to speak to.
Good to know.
We also we launched last year the Pledge of Hope campaign to raise resources and funds just for the situation that we're talking about right now, Kurt, to where through the Pledge of Hope and sponsorship, providing mental health first aid training. So everyone's familiar with first aid, CPR, AED training, and a lot of the times it's a requirement to have in many trades and many companies for whatever purpose or reason. And it's usually one of the first trainings that people kind of shrug off like, this is a joke. It's probably one of the most used trainings as well. But that's for your physical injuries, right? Your cuts, your breaks, your abrasions, your strains, things of that nature on the physical side. But mental health first aid is more of the emotional side of things. It's been a great training. We've so far through the Pledge of Hope campaign this summer, we've been able to train 70, right at about 70 people. We are just now launching the fall winter schedule, and that's free to our members. And it's through the Missouri Mental Health Institute and some other agencies that are out there. It's a program that originated out of Australia and has been well received. It's a phenomenal program. The feedback's been great. And just the other day, we had a safety committee meeting and had a couple of individuals speak up that the week prior they had two different companies, two different situations where they had they were in a position to talk two people down, from the edge, if you will, figuratively speaking. So it's and both those individuals and those companies have sent people to the mental health first aid class. So our goal at AGC of Missouri is to have one person minimum on every job site of our members trained in mental health first aid.
So when we're talking about mental health in construction, what is the takeaway for folks?
Well, the takeaway in regards to this is that it's okay to talk about this. It's okay, it sounds cliche, but it's okay to not be okay. Um, I was having a conversation recently with an individual safety professional that shared with me, 20 years ago or so, when he started his career and walked on the job site, there was actually a sign by the door that stated, "Check your feelings here." And the culture of the construction industry is just that. It's that macho mentality. I'm a man, I'm running equipment, I'm building stuff, I'm using tools. I keep thinking about Tim the Toolman Taylor right now. But it's that thought process, right? That stigma of what a man is in what it means to be a construction worker. And nobody comes to work to talk about their feelings, and if you do, you're laughed off the job site. You're told, "Suck it up, buttercup," kind of situation. Pull your bootstraps up, get to work, or you'll be fine. Uh, and you're not always going to be fine, and that's okay. There's ways to handle this. There's help out there. There's resources, and it's just a matter of reaching out to somebody. Uh, and seeking those resources out because they're readily available.
Brandon Anderson of AGC Missouri, thank you again for talking today.
Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate the opportunity and the partnership with Fastenal to bring awareness to this topic.